I get tons of questions on every single video I make all about my watch. People asking me what I'm wearing, what kind of Garmin it is, where they can buy one, what it does. And I made videos about Garmin in the past, but today I want to specifically deep dive into this watch. And again, I've made a few shorts on it as well, but we're going to do a longer format video about this watch. This is the Garmin Instinct 3 Solar Tactical 50mm edition. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's take a look. So I'm a bit of a self-proclaimed watch nerd, as you can see. I've got a variety of some of the timepieces that I like to rotate through around here. We've got a couple G-Shocks. We've got your Timex, another Timex, Apple Watch Ultra 2. And then we have this guy. This is the Garmin Instinct 3 Solar Tactical 50mm edition. And I've been through a handful of different Garmins, and obviously these are not smart except for the Apple Watch, which is the smartest of the bunch. And my watch journey is kind of all over the place. I enjoy them for the sake of the piece of machinery that they are. I enjoy having a tool on my wrist. I want to be able to see the time, the date. And even over the years of wearing Apple Watch, I've gotten really accustomed to seeing the weather, and then certain convenient things like my elevation. I do live here in Colorado, so I like to check that wherever I'm going. That's kind of a fun thing to check. And then getting notified of phone calls and whatnot. Obviously, you're not going to get that on something like this, like a G-Shock, a standard G-Shock, right? But this in its own right is super cool. This is solar charging. This is atomic timekeeping, so it's as accurate as your phone. It always keeps the correct time. It's solar charging, never have to worry about battery. That's really cool in its own right, super tough. This is another G-Shock, right? And so I wear a variety of different watches depending on the mood, as you can see from my watch tan line there. Don't judge me. This is just your standard Timex Expedition. Super great watch. But yeah, depending on the mood, depending on what I'm doing, where I'm going, I'll wear different watches. But the Garmin really kind of sits in the middle. If you've got smartwatch over here on this side, Apple Watch, and then these are all kind of the dumb watches, you know, I would classify this one as a little bit smarter simply because of the atomic timekeeping and the solar capabilities. Like there's just no maintenance on this thing. But then you got this guy in the middle, the Garmin, where it has that G-Shock type of look. Granted, you don't have a mechanical motion like you would with the Garmin crossover, but that's okay. I mean, it eats at me a little bit because I do like the mechanical timepiece. As you can tell, I'm not as much of a digital watch guy, but this sits fairly in the middle enough, and that's okay with me. So why this watch? Why the Garmin Instinct? I have been through a handful of different Garmin watches. I've used the Fenix 7 Pro X Sapphire. I've used the Fenix 8 for a time period. I was trying to get my hands on an Epix Pro Gen 2, but that didn't happen. I've used the Instinct 2, Instinct 2X, and then multiple sizes of this Instinct 3. I've used the Instinct 3 AMOLED. And what I do is I'll buy them, try them. And I genuinely am searching for a watch I want to keep. I've returned more than I've kept, obviously, because I don't appreciate certain things about some of the nuances of the Garmin watches, especially as you get into the higher pricing Garmin watches. They get crazy expensive. I mean, easily outspending an Apple Watch, and that just kind of that raises the bar in my mind. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll check them out at the store, or I'll buy them used, try them for a while, and then resell them. And so I buy and sell to be able to kind of get my hands on really figuring out exactly what I like the best. And so far I've landed on this guy, the Instinct 3 Solar Tactical. And it's a mouthful. Garmin's kind of figuring out their whole naming scheme and nailing it down a bit better. But I really like this simply because of the MIP display, the MIP. I have grown tired of having a touchscreen on my wrist. I think this is just kind of dull, lifeless. It just kind of is bland. You know what I mean? Like I'm surrounded by screens all the time. I don't want one more screen on my wrist. Sometimes in little nuanced cases, it is very nice. But for me, it most of the time is not, because I have kids. So I'm holding kids and they're constantly on my arm, especially the younger ones, the babies. She's touching and grabbing all of this, and so I have numerous times, seen message threads opened, or felt my watch calling somebody because kids will touch something, and I'll turn on the water lock, and that seems to help quite a bit. And especially with like the pinch gesture and the wrist flick that they've introduced with the Apple Watch, that really does help to enhance the usability with that water lock on. I don't need the touchscreen as much. But at the end of the day, it just kind of feels overkill for what I want. I just want something to wear that is going to tell me the time, weather, date, and then general like calls, texts, and that's about it. This thing beyond that is just kind of more, I feel like I'm babysitting it more, especially because of the battery life. And I know that the Ultra 2 and especially the Ultra 3 now, you get 2-3 days of battery life. That's fine. For me, that's not enough because after using this, which I plugged it in before the video here, I mean, I'm at 75% in 23 days. And if I modify my settings, it's 23 days because it's reading the blood oxygen levels while I sleep. When I turn that off entirely, I'm at over 40 days on 100% charge. And so the difference is, like, I think about charging this maybe once a month, and especially because it's solar powered, it even prolongs it. Maybe once a month I think about plugging it in, versus this is like kind of every day I have to like keep an eye on the battery and make sure it's topped off. And so that's one big reason, one big thing that I kind of went away from the Apple Watch. I'm like, you know what, for what I need it for, I think I can step away and I don't need as many smarts. I don't need to be opening my garage door from my wrist or starting my truck from my wrist. Like, it doesn't work well anyway. You might as well use the phone for all that stuff. Just having a timepiece to track workouts, check the weather, and get notified of important calls. That's it. That's all I want it for. And so this kind of just feels like overkill for what that is. And it feels like the smarts are a little bit wasted on me. And this is coming from somebody that's been using an Apple Watch for about 10 years. I started with the Series 0, I went to the Series 5, and then I went to the Ultra 1 and then Ultra 2. And so I've been with the Apple Watch for many, many years, since its debut, honestly. And then that's when I kind of discovered Garmin. At first, I jumped into the Instinct 2 lineup. I still highly recommend that watch. It's excellent, and by now they're cheap. They're like $200. You can find them pretty cheap. The Instinct 2 is a great place to start with the Garmin. And what I love about it is that it's not flashy. It's pretty unassuming, and that's part of why I went with the MIP display. Because when I had the AMOLED, it was just it's too bright, it's too flashy. I don't want to get distracted by what's lighting up on my wrist or have other people be drawn to that. Like, that's just not me. I don't want that, especially with kids. And then on the Phoenix models where they are touchscreen, it was like I would disable the touchscreen. You know, I'd do a button thing and just disable it. The only time the touchscreen was nice is if I was moving around maps while hiking. That is super awesome and a feature that's not on this, which I really am disappointed by. But aside from that, that would be really the only reason why I would upgrade to something like the Epix or the Phoenix lineup. But the trade-off I get in return, I am more than happy with because of this memory and pixel display. It's very unassuming. It's super easy to read. The more light you have, the easier it is to read. So in daylight or anywhere you're at, like, it's bomb. It's awesome. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not touchscreen. Everything is button operated. And so I can jump in here and see the weather. You know, I have a simple weather complication. I see it's 47 degrees. And if I want to see what the high temperature is for today, because that's often a question in the home, especially as kids are getting dressed, I can click down. Okay, it's going to be 63 today. Easy peasy. Battery I never have to check on, so I just let it sit up there. You know, I can see my sunrise, sunset time, which is something I've grown accustomed to seeing. I like having that actually as a complication on my Apple Watch, because as you know, as a family, we play outside, and I want to know when the sun's going to go down. I like to see my elevation, like I say, and this gives me like a nice graph over the last 4 or 5 hours of where I've been. And so that's kind of it. And I can scroll through and I can see my solar intensity. I've yet to be outside today. I should go get some sun. But when I'm in the sun, it charges it up. And so if I'm in the sun for 2-3 hours, I'll gain a couple percent charge. That amounts to like 1 or 2 days on this watch, which is awesome. And so if I'm getting out in the sun, you know, at least once a day for a few hours, I should theoretically never have to charge this watch, depending on the settings, which is fantastic. And then this is just kind of how I've set it up. I've got my different health metrics set up in here to be able to just quickly scroll through and see exactly what, you know, sleep score, running plans that I have, my altimeter, calendar, and then simple notifications that I can view on my phone. And that's it. Like, that's all I want out of a watch. I don't want this fancy touchscreen and swiping around and calling people and texting people. You cannot call people on this. You cannot send them a text. You simply can view what has popped up on your phone. And I love that. And I've even dumbed it down a bit further because, like I say, I've been wearing these standard G-Shock normal watches for a while now, and I just love the simplicity of like, this is unchanging. It doesn't matter who touches it. There's no buttons. Like there's nothing that happens. You can simply see the time and the date. And I love that. I love the simplicity. And it honestly is freeing to not have a smart device on my wrist. And I'm trying to navigate that because I find value in having something like this. I find value in the moments where I want to turn the smart things on and then when I want to leave them off. Or having health metrics. If I'm going to go out for a hike, I like to be able to track that. I like to be able to read heart rate and stuff like that. And oh, the flashlight. Can't forget about the flashlight. We will talk about that in a moment. But those are nice things that are nice to have that you simply don't have on this. And so when I wear these, I can appreciate the simplicity, but I do find myself missing a few features as opposed to this where it just feels like feature overload and I want to dumb it down. And so this, like I say, sits right in the middle. And so what I've actually done is turned off notifications for texts, and I only receive phone call notifications. That way, if anybody's trying to get a hold of me in an emergency or my wife or anything, that will still buzz me. Everything else, this thing does not buzz me. It just simply exists on my wrist as a timepiece, as a tool, so I can see the weather, calendar, flashlight, elevation. It's a tool watch, and that's what I absolutely love it for. And aside from that, I mean, just the hardware, the durability, the ruggedness. Like I say, it's got that G-Shock kind of look. It's tough. It's rugged. I'm not worried about breaking it or cracking it. I'm sure it will at the right time and, pressure, but it's just a great watch. And wearing it, like, it's just, man, it's sweet. It's just sweet. It's awesome. Never have to worry about it. Just very low maintenance. And in my opinion, just really combines the best of both the smart and the dumb in one world. And this is what maturity in a smartwatch should be and should look like. And I just think it's excellent. Okay, let's talk about this flashlight for a minute. This is one of the big reasons why I went with this watch. I, again, have kids. And so being up in the middle of the night or just dark corners of the house, I use this thing probably 3-4 times a day at least to be able to just see and get around. And it's so simple, so easy. And I know the Apple Watch has a flashlight where the screen lights up, but honestly, it is so glitchy. I have worn this sleep tracking in the middle of the night, trying to get up and help kids in the middle of the night. And I have my action button programmed for it. And I would press it and it would do the whole animation and then nothing would happen. And this is like repeatable. And I'm not on beta software or anything. I'm just on public iOS. This has been an issue that I've been having with this watch and my Ultra One for a couple of years now, where it's so finicky to press it and it doesn't work. And so I have to like flick my wrist and then by the time I actually look at it, then it lights up in my face. And so the flashlight experience on this is absolute garbage. And I know some people may disagree. It's nice to be able to, adjust the brightness up and down depending on where you're at. But like for me, when it's the middle of the night and I'm tired and I just need a light, like this is garbage. And this is so easy. I don't even have to look at it. I can just double press flashlight and I can tone it down if it's too bright, tone it up. I mean, you have green because it's the tactical version. It is just miles ahead. Fantastic, fantastic flashlight on this. And that's part of the reason why I bought this one. Okay, so talking about this watch in comparison to something like the Instinct 2 and the Instinct 2X. I've used both of those watches. I love the 2. I love how readable it is because the bezel is completely black because it's not solar. They do make the 2 solar, but it just was like a weird, like a pink, almost reddish ring. And I don't care for that. I would rather just not have it at all because I don't think the solar makes enough of a difference, especially paying for a premium for it. And so the 2 is an excellent watch. I just wanted the flashlight on it. And so I used the 2X for a while, which is solar by default, that has the flashlight, but I found the case to be a little bit big when I was wearing it. And again, it had that weird reddish ring around the solar thing, and so I just didn't care for it. And then this came out, and they fixed the solar panel. Like, it is a blacked out solar panel. Like, you can't really tell that this is solar. You can't really see it. Unless you're like in super direct sunlight outside, then you can see it a little bit, but this is like pretty stealthy looking, and I like that a lot. And it has the flashlight. And so what I originally did is when this came out, I bought the 45 millimeter version, the smaller version from Shields, and I wore it, tested it out. I loved it, and I wore it. And eventually I did return it because after that little bit of euphoria wears off, you do realize like, okay, it was over $600 by the time taxes and everything came out. And so, and no maps, like just breadcrumb trail navigation. It's very simple. It's very rugged compared to what you can get out there when you're pushing $600. I mean, you could buy 2 or 3 regular Apple Watches at that price point. You can get some used Epics, some used Phoenix models that have full-fledged maps. And so features to price comparison, I think it's quite overpriced. And so I returned it. That was the 45 millimeter. I returned it. I let it go, which was a bit of a bummer. And I was just shopping around and looking, and I found this exact model, the one I'm holding. Guy selling it on Marketplace locally, $400, 3 bands, the 50 millimeter, so the larger version has a bit better battery. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. And so I went and picked it up, and that's what I have here in front of me. I got this used for $400, and that I think is the bargain. That's the sweet spot. If I had to pay full price, I honestly wouldn't buy it, and I'd probably consider something like a Phoenix lineup and a little bit higher end, or just go with the Instinct 2X or the 2. But because I was able to get it at such a bargain, that's why I'm using this one. And then software-wise on this watch, people complain about Garmin software. They think it's very archaic and lackluster. To be honest, I love it. I don't see an issue with it. In a world where everything's touchscreen and user interface friendly and liquid glass and function, like form over function, this drastically is function over form. And it's just dead simple. This thing can be up my sleeve, and I know the button combinations I can press to get to where I need to go. I could be wearing gloves. I don't need like touchscreen, nothing. I can program any button combination I want to do anything. It's just fantastic. And so, like I said, to quickly see the weather, it's just a couple button presses in. It's always snappy. It's always quick. And I just have zero issues with it. Like I say, I can jump into my calendar. I can jump into anything I want. And it's very simple, very easy. I mean, talking about a workout, push workout, select the workout I want, wait for GPS, and then start. It's so dead simple, easy. There we go. We got GPS lock indoors. How about that? So dead simple, easy that I love it. It's really hard to get used to this. And granted, yes, there's a learning curve. It's a little bit difficult to get used to. But once you are used to it, it's really, really hard to go back to something like this, where you have to touch, load, swipe, touch, swipe. You know, this is it feels like finicky versus this is like dead simple. I can get to a trailhead. I know that hike is my first thing. I can be unloading kids, press, wait for it to beep, press it again, and I know I'm good to go. Like, it's that simple. I don't even have to look at it up my sleeve. I can just have it down. I can press into workout, press into hike, check GPS lock, beep, press it again, and I'm good to go. And then same thing when I end it, just press it and it stops it. Like, it's so dead simple, and I love it. And knowing that I can do all of that and run it all and not have to worry about battery life, but once a month, if that, it is just a fantastic watch. Like, this is the definition of utilitarian and a tool watch. And I love it, man. I dig it. I still, like I say, will wear some of these depending on the mood or the day. Sometimes I don't want the smart features. I don't really particularly care too much about tracking every minute of my health. But this definitely is just overkill. And so that's kind of a deep dive and why I went with the Garmin Instinct 3 Solar Tactical 50 millimeter edition, how I ended up with it. But like I said, if I had to buy it brand new, this model, I'd probably buy the 45. But if I had to pay full price anyway, I'd probably just look at the Instinct 2 or the 2X. But that flashlight is definitely the game changer for me. But because I found it such a great deal at $400, then absolutely I'm going to use it. And one more quick thing is people complain about the sensor, that it's last gen sensor. Again, I don't care. There's newer sensors and the newer stuff, and they just came out with this and they put the older sensor in it, whatever. Like, I don't care. And I think that's kind of the majority of people buying this watch is they're not high-end athletes. They're not sporty people. They just want a simple utilitarian tool watch that they can utilize for some sport tracking, some adventure, and that kind of stuff. And so count me into that crowd, because that is me, man. And then one more thing is people always ask me about the band. Right now I have the standard band on it, but this is just a Velcro band that you can get on Amazon that I'll put on. That's a little more comfortable, and so you end up getting this like green Velcro look to it. I'll switch them out depending on what I'm doing. This obviously is more waterproof. It's a little less maintenance, but not as comfortable as something like this. So this is a great band. I can put a link to that in the description, as well as a link to the watch itself. But that's more of a kind of a deep dive, and why this is genuinely, I think, one of the best watches that you can buy. If you're into that G-Shock look, that rugged kind of look no further than this. This thing is bomb diggity. I love it. I don't see myself needing to upgrade for a very long time. I'll probably end up buying more watches over the years, especially to test things out as new things come out, and if Apple Watches get better, or if they come out with a rugged version, whatever. There's always a special place in my heart for traditional timepieces. But as far as everyday utilitarian, like I just need a tool watch on my wrist, this is it. I have found it after a long-winded journey through a lot of Garmin devices, and I dig it, man. But let me know what you think. Do you guys have this watch? A lot of people ask me about it. Has anybody picked it up, used it? I haven't really seen anybody else that has this. I've seen one other person that has, two other people that have this in the AMOLED version, which, like I say, I had, but I wasn't a fan of the bright screen. I wasn't a fan of the battery life. And so that's why I went with the MIP version. I have not seen anybody else that has this exact watch. I've seen the older versions of the Instincts all over the place, but not this exact one. But let me know what you think. Comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.